So on this week's episode of SWAU's official channel, we've got a great guest, a very special guest. She has starred in Ghost Wars, Smallville, Bad Blood, Sea, Stargate Atlantis, so many shows and films to mention, and now starring in Amazon Prime's great show, Cross. It's a wonderful Sharon Taylor. Sharon, welcome to the show, my love.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
Oh, do you know what? It's an absolute pleasure. And Cross is out today. I have been binge watching it as much as I can. And the great thing is all the episodes are out there. So basically people are going to go missing for 8 hours, watching this show. But before we dig deep into this show and your character, I want to find out a bit more about you because you've been on my screens for many years and I've enjoyed your performances for many years as well. So I'm really excited to have you on the show. But I wanted to find out, what I ask, the majority of my guests was, why acting? Why not a 9-to-5 job? What inspired you to take this journey in one of the most competitive industries known to man?
There's something about being an actor that you have to love. It's such a difficult industry to be in, and the amount of rejection you face, you absolutely have to love it to persevere. And it's one of those things where I started in high school, in all the high school plays, and I went to university and got my degree in theater. Well, partly because my parents said, you have to go to university. And I was like, great, I'll get my degree in theater. So I just continued on, like it's something inside you that you can't get rid of. But to that point, I have worked 9 to 5. So after university, I worked as a legal assistant for like 9 to 5 every day, taking the bus back and forth. And I was just like, part of it was soul crushing at times, where I remember riding the bus and thinking like, I hate this. I hate my life. but then you like make those changes and you just have to believe in yourself and then you just go for it. And then, I'm in one of those fortunate situations where it all paid off in the end, taking that chance.
And you started out your career, in the theatre, which is a great sort of learning ground. I think this is why the British are very, very well thought of in this industry, because our industry is based around the theatre to begin with. So, I mean, how was that, being on stage compared to, being in front of the camera? I mean, do you miss it? Do you go back and do shows on stage, or is that gone? You've got the T-shirt and that's it.
I will go back to do theater. I will. But right now, it's one of those things where I absolutely love it, but it doesn't pay the bills the way TV and film does. So I would hate to commit to a project and then have it like coming closer and then suddenly get a big film project. And I would obviously stay committed to the theatrical project, but then I'd be like, oh, great, now I can't pay my bills.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. But who knows? We might see you in a play down the line. I mean, all these stars are doing it now in London on the West End. All these stars have been in some great shows. So who knows? You might be treading the board very, very soon. I mean, when you started out your career, did you have a plan in place in what you wanted to achieve? Sort of like that mood board that people talk about, the people that you wanted to work with, be directed by. I mean, did you have a plan, and what did that look like?
I'm a big believer in vision boards. I have a vision board in my bedroom and I have goals on it. And so right before I booked this show Cross, I wanted to work in Toronto. I live in Vancouver. And so I put Toronto on my vision board and I said to my agent, I want to book something in Toronto because I want to go to Toronto. And I did it. It worked. I booked the show in Toronto, and I do put things on my vision board. I have a picture of a director's chair, but it's like a cast chair, and it says Sharon Taylor, leading character on it on the vision board, and then I end up on Bad Blood as the number 2 character for season 2. Like I feel like when you set your intentions to things, it's entirely possible because the mind is that powerful.
Definitely, and your energy changes as well. And I believe that if you envision it, sort of your energy changes, and you tend to Yeah, I completely agree. But then, I was looking at your sort of background, and one photo stood out for me, and I'm going to bring it up because a lot of people may not know this, and a lot might. Is that you're a martial artist, and there's a picture there of you, and I'm not being funny. That picture, looking at that, my hips are screaming right now. Like, how on earth can you get your leg up like that? If I try to do that, I think at least four things would break in one place. I mean, do you still do martial arts, and what sort of style do you specialize in, and what do you enjoy about that?
Yeah, I do karate and kickboxing, and I have my second degree black belt in karate and kickboxing, and I still do it. I still train every Saturday, no matter what, and then throughout the week whenever I can, depending on work and auditions and things. But that being able to be flexible like that does take a lot of work. There's lots of stretching involved, like doing the splits every day just to try to like get down, get down, get down, and then eventually, yeah, you can do it too, Brian. Your hips will
No, no,
open up.
no, no. I've got to the stage of putting my socks on. That is it. So you know what? Someone said to me one time, try Pilates or yoga. Literally, if I get on the map, I'm not getting back up. I'm a proper dad now. I'm at a dad age, and I see my girls do that sort of thing, the splits and backflips and all that lot, and that just wears me out. Watching them. But my dad was actually a karate teacher. Um, so he tried to get me into karate, and he used to like break bricks with his head and do all that jazz, the 1 inch punch. So I grew up on karate movies, Jackie Chan and I was like obsessed with martial arts movies. Have you got a favorite? That you
Yes, I used to love Van Damme. So when I
did
was in high
you?
school, when I was young, all the Van Damme movies were out, like Lionheart and stuff like that. And I'd be like, I want to do that. But I have another cool story is that on my vision board, I wanted to be in an action movie. So I put a picture of Tom Cruise running in Ghost Protocol, like where he's like that famous photo where he's running. And so I'm like, I want to be in an action movie. And this was just this year. So my my agent sends me a message a few days later, and he's like, "Oh, you have an audition for Mission Impossible 8, like the new one that's just coming out,
Ah,
because they're doing some reshoots and they needed like an action character." And I was like, "Oh my god! I just like put this on my vision board. Like I'm gonna do this." So sure enough, I do the audition. I don't get the part, but but 3 weeks after that, I get an audition for another action movie, called Sniper, which is the Sniper franchise, which
oh
Tom
yeah.
Berenger, started that franchise back in the '90s. And so I booked that. And so, I went to South Africa earlier this year and shot it, and I have the biggest fight scene of my whole career in this Sniper movie, and I'm so excited for you to watch that.
Oh wow! Because I've had the young man that's actually in those sniper movies. I've got his name now, and
Oh,
it's
Brandon. Oh, and Brandon's the character's name, but
yeah,
Chad is the actor.
yeah. So
Mhm.
I've had him on the show, and he's so positive and so like sort of just unbelievably positive to chat to. But South Africa, how amazing! I've been to South Africa. It's one of my favorite places to go. I went
Yeah.
to Cape Town, and I went up to Knysna and Stellenbosch and places like that. But it's very dangerous. You've got lots of snakes, spiders.
They they did well, they did, but, we were in Cape Town the whole time, we didn't have a lot of time to explore, so we were in the city pretty much the whole time, but it
Oh,
was stunning. I mean, I'm sure you saw. It's, like, obviously a very historically complicated place, but the food and the wine and the people and the mountain and the ocean, like, it's freaking stunning. I recommend for anyone to go there to travel.
and it's
Mhm.
great on the exchange rate because when I went, it was 10 rand to the pound. And I thought everything was cheap. Obviously, it's a bit more expensive on the wharf, in Cape Town, but everywhere else is cheap as chips, as they say in the UK. And then I want to move on to one of the other projects that you worked on, which I've got to say is one of my favorite, which is Smallville. And you was on that with a gentleman that I actually met, Callum Blue, that played Zod. and he was such a lovely man to meet in person. And I spent quite a while talking to him. Can you remember those days? I mean, it can't be that long ago, but someone reminded me how long Smallville was, like time wise, and it makes you go, "Really? It was that long ago?" I mean, you played, and I can never pronounce a name. You played
Feora. Yes, Feora.
Ferrora. Yes.
Yeah. I'm still friends with Callum Blue, and I have to say that guy is just wonderful, and he's a beacon of positivity, also just wonderful human being. And I'm so excited that he's like on 911 right now and doing
Yes.
so well. Mhm.
Yes, and it's great because when I met him, he was just off doing that film. Is it Columbia or something like
Yeah,
that? Which
yeah, it was
which
Columbiana, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and his
Mhm.
character in it was really good. It's very sleazy, very wimpy. But this is a picture of you in Smallville, and sadly, Zod is not very nice to you, towards the end. Um, but again, it must be quite nice to be part of big shows that will always test the thingy of time. What's the term? Test the
Well,
thingy of
I mean,
yeah.
my character sure went out with a bang on that show. Like I was even when I read this when I read the script of that final episode for my character, and it was called Sacrifice, and I could kind of see where the story was going, and I went, "Oh, damn it. This it's called Sacrifice." I'm like, "I bet I'm the sacrifice." and and I was but like honestly, it's so cool to be such a part of like an iconic franchise like that.
Mm,
Very cool. And
yeah.
I did a Stargate convention in, Birmingham years ago, and there was another woman there, an actress, and she had said, she was a bit older than me, and she had said, "Oh, what are you working on right now?" And I said, "Oh, I'm working on this show called Smallville." And she said, "Oh, I love Superman. I love Superman stories." She goes, "I actually starred in Superman 2. My name is Sarah Douglas, and I played Feora." And I was like, "I'm playing Feora right now on Smallville." And we were both like, "Oh my God. Like, how cool is that?
That is
How
that
cool is
is
that?"
cool. Yeah, I've met Sarah a few times, and again, another gracious woman. It's really nice when you actually meet people that are actually really nice in the industry, because you hear so many horror stories of people's egos entering a room before they do, especially with the team around them. But
Mm.
it must be great. I mean, another show as well. We are going to talk about Cross. But while I've got you, Bad Blood.
Mhm.
If no one has
Mm.
seen this show, they need to get on it. And there we go. Oh no, let me just. There we
Okay.
go. There is a picture there.
There they are. Woo! That's the team. That's the
That is the
team right there.
team.
Season 2.
So Cross is still available on Netflix, and it is such not Cross. Oh, Bad Blood. I'll edit that out. So Bad Blood is available now, still on Netflix, and it's one of the best shows I've ever seen. And I can't believe that season 1 was based on a true story. Yeah, I'll move this down.
Yeah.
There we go.
All true. It's so messed up that the mafia had come up from New York in the United States and came up to Canada and ended up in Montreal. And growing up here in Vancouver on the West Coast, we didn't hear about that so much. It was definitely like more in the East Coast newspapers. But then once I got an audition for the show, I was like, "What is this show?" And so I started watching season 1, and I was like, I couldn't believe it was all true. Like people getting killed right, left, and center, like
Mm.
going into restaurants, killing each other. Like it all happened. It was insane time in Montreal.
Yeah, and of course, then season 2 is more fiction, which I think it gets a lot meatier with the story. Kim Coates is the lead in the show, and again, a really nice guy. I mean, what is it like? I mean, it must be quite important for a performer to surround yourself with other performers that are so good as well, because not only to keep you on your toes yourself, but to help up your game as well. I mean, what is it like to act opposite like Kim Coates and all the other great names that you've worked with?
Honestly, I have to say Kim Coates in Bad Blood, Vincent D'Onofrio in Ghost Wars, and
Mm.
now Aldous Hodge in Cross are three of the most like epic actors I've ever performed with. They not only bring up your own performance, um, but it's just such an honor to just get sucked into the world with them. Kim Coates was so next level for me at that time in my career because we would be standing there talking, and then he would turn to me and be like, "Where'd you put the drugs?" Or something like that. He would just start improvising, and I was like, oh my God, we're improvising right now? I'm like, okay, here we go. And so then the director would yell action, and the next thing I know, we're like, we're already coming in hot with that improvisation. And he just locks in when he looks at you, Kim Coates. I mean, those eyes, right? Those
Mm.
intense blue eyes. He just locks in. And holy cow, I loved working with him.
Oh,
Loved it.
it's just a fantastic actor. A film he
Mhm.
did was, I think it was called Coldbrook, which I thought was amazing that he did after Sons of Anarchy. I mean, how important is it to work with great actors? I mean, obviously you don't have to say who was being bad, but does it affect you as a actor when you're acting opposite someone that may not be as good, or is struggling? Because it's a bit like singing with someone else, and if they're off note, it can throw you off note. I mean, do you ever get that? And how do you overcome that?
It can go both ways. I have worked on a show where the stars of the show were children, and children have to rap at a certain time. So they have to go home, and then they film the adult parts afterwards, and we have to do our scenes to a piece of tape. So we're acting to a piece of tape. And honestly, that was easier than working opposite an actor who didn't know their lines or was all muddled and didn't know what they were doing. And have had that before too, where
Mm.
you have a scene with an actor who's just beginning, and they don't have a lot of confidence. So I try to instill a little confidence in them, and let them know that it's a safe space and we're just having fun and we're just going to do the lines and play. But then you can see the look of terror in their eyes as the scene is starting. And I'm like, okay, I just have to pretend I'm doing it to a piece of tape.
Bless you. So yeah, so obviously before we talk about Cross, we'll in a second. In when we talk about roles and you getting roles, what does a role have to have for you to go? Do you know what? I want that. I mean, what's the secret sauce of a role for you to get you excited?
Um, Bad Blood was the most favorite character I've ever played because she did get to have everything. She got to be a badass. She got to be like an intelligent businesswoman. She was the lover. She had like she was the matriarch of the family, so you got to see her interact with the nephew. That was my favorite character, and honestly, nothing like that has come along quite since because I do tend to play very strong women, and the writers are certainly not making the women I play one dimensional, but sometimes it's a little bit more challenging to fit those characters into maybe the girlfriend or the mother
Mm.
role. So to have it all wrapped up into one on Bad Blood was like such a gift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I quite enjoy seeing sort of female parts being the leads, the people that are the strong characters. I think it's since I had daughters, I gravitate towards those characters now because I want my daughters to grow up seeing these characters on screen, thinking, do you know what, I can do that. Do you know what I mean? Not being the stereotypical, as you said, girlfriend, you know, damsel in distress, when really we all know that women rule the world. You could tell I'm married. I'm henpecked.
Well, you sound
Um,
like a very smart man.
yes, yes, definitely. So let's talk about Cross because I've watched up to 2.5 seasons, two and a half episodes, should I say, and I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. It starts off fast. It starts off literally grabbing your attention. If you could tell the lovely viewers on whom you play and a bit about what the show is about.
I play Lieutenant Oracene Massey, who is Detective Alex Cross's boss. So in the police department, he answers to me, and then he also answers to the chief, who's above me. So my character is caught in a little bit of a stressful situation because she's always trying to answer to the chief, who's her boss, and then she's also trying to keep her detectives that are underneath her also happy. So she's always caught between solving the case and keeping the political the political status quo that the chief wants.
And there's a lot of things to juggle in this show. A lot of themes, twists and turns. We've got the chief on the show in the next few days. Jennifer Wigmore is coming on to chat about her role as well. I'm slightly scared, to be fair. She seems like a scary character, so hopefully she's going to be gentle.
She's a tough lady. In real life, she's a tough lady, but her character, you'll see in some of the later episodes, she just like locks in on some of the other characters, and she's a tough woman.
She's already said a few comments in episode 1 and 2 that's got me worried already because she's not afraid to say what she thinks. When did you film this show? Because the reason why I ask is because there's a scarf from a football team that I've gone to actually see in person, and they changed their name quite a few years ago, and rightly so. And we're talking about the Washington Redskins, and they changed now to the Commanders. So when was this filmed? Because, Cross's wife has got a Redskins scarf on.
So that's how you're very observant. You should be a detective yourself. That we filmed it in the beginning of 2023, but obviously that happened quite a bit before 2023. But in the story, his character is a fan of that team, so I guess they would have had older merchandise, or it just becomes a scarf that his wife likes to wear. And so, yes.
So that is a reason.
You are quite a good detective because that scarf does become a story point later on. So keep watching.
Okay. It's only because I noticed, because rightly so, the Redskins have finally changed their name because, obviously the meaning around it, and a lot of people were against it and for it, and I was for the change for definite. So how do you prepare for a role like this? Because not only are you, a lieutenant, but you're also pregnant in the actual show, which means that you won't be doing any of those high kicks. Well, hopefully not. So how do you prepare for a role like this? Do you do research? I mean, how do you get into the character?
They put this big latex belly on me, which is actually quite heavy, and it's it's got like the breasts and the belly and everything. So like you put it on like a bulletproof vest, which is usually what my character wears, is bulletproof vests on other shows. But like for this character, I had to like put this thing on every day. And at first I said to the costume woman, because it actually like straps on underneath too. And I said, how am I going to go to the bathroom? But they figured out a way to make it so I could still like unsnap it and go to the bathroom. But it was definitely like a whole thing to put on. So once that's on your body, it definitely, you kind of organically start to move that way, when the way you sit and the way you walk and the way you stand.
I mean, has her pregnancy got any thing for the story? Because it always makes me wonder why make her character pregnant? Is it something that we may be involved with later on down the line? I mean, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but why do you think she was pregnant? Is that just the writers deciding that character is pregnant?
I thought the same thing when I got the first script. I was like, why is my character pregnant? But I'm not going to say any more about that, but you're going to you're going to see why.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then on the part of being a lieutenant, I mean, you obviously have never served in the police force or anything like that. So, from an actor's point of view, what sort of research and background do you go into to actually bring that character a bit of authenticity? I mean, do you research roles like that in the real world?
I do. So, as far as playing an overall police officer, I do play them a lot on other shows, and we often have police consultants on set with us, and they talk to us about how to pull out our guns and how to move and how to clear a room, and they're always watching us to make sure we don't do anything inauthentic. So I did not have that for this character because she's mostly in the office, but uh, I did obviously do my Google research in what the role of a lieutenant plays within an American police department. Mhm.
Yeah, of course, because you're Canada, so I suppose the Canadian
Mm,
police forces are completely different to American, like the British.
yeah.
So I mean, I'm guessing with this show having so many twists and turns, was the set really locked down to make sure that nothing was going to come out? I mean, how secretive was it? Because I'm guessing from the first couple of episodes, definitely with Ryan that plays Ed Ramsey. Um, his character in this show is creepy as hell. I mean, I've seen him in The Blacklist, and he's just fantastic in that. But to see him in this, he's so scary. I mean, how locked down was the set to make sure that nothing was going to come out in the way of spoilers?
He gets freakier. I just want to tell you, he gets freakier, like scarier. He's so good. But we filmed that in the beginning of 2023, where the COVID protocols were still really strict across Canada. So no one was allowed to set. We weren't allowed to be around other people. We still had to wear masks. We had to get COVID tested 3 times a week. It was still very strict. So as far as that goes, we didn't really see them. We didn't see people, so that wasn't an issue. But the secretiveness was pretty intense because they would email us our scripts when they send out the first draft. And there would be big sections blacked out. So you would get this script and you'd be like, oh my God, what happens here? And then we would have a table read for each episode. So when we would go to that table read, they would give us a fresh paper copy of the script with no blacked out versions. And we weren't allowed to flip the pages without everybody doing it at once.
It's
So
like being at
then
school.
we would, yeah, it was really great. And then so eventually you would flip over a page that was blacked out, and then you'd see what really happens. And honest to God, the whole room of actors sitting reading would go, "Holy shit! Oh my
Yeah.
God!" Like it was fun. That part was really fun. And
Be-
honestly, this show is such an intelligent show.
Mm,
You really have to pay attention. You cannot be on your phone scrolling trying to watch the show at the same time. The first 2 episodes, especially, they're introducing a lot of new
mm.
characters, and it does settle at some point. It starts to settle, and you start to realize who all the players are in this strange circumstance and hunt for the serial killer.
And definitely, you're right. In the first 2 episodes, I mean, the true measure of a show is the mobile phone factor. Where when you're watching a show, you can't help it now but pick up your phone while you're watching something, scroll through Facebook or Instagram. But this show, I haven't looked at my phone. The reason being is because I like shows like this because it keeps you on your toes. As you said, it's very intelligently written. For instance, the man in the coffee shop, like the coffee van, when you're thinking straight away, that's him that's doing, you know, the stuff in the show, but it isn't. But then he's got a tattoo on his wrist, so you've got to keep an eye out for that. That's going to have some significance. Oh, there's so much stuff. You've got to be on the ball.
Yeah,
You really have.
you have to be watching. You have to be smart. You have to be a at-home detective.
Yes, and that's what I love about these shows. And if you binge watch it as well, I'm gonna pace myself because I want to enjoy it properly. I think if you watch it all in one go, I think you're going to be exhausted by the end, and you're not going to get the enjoyment. But talk about the cast that you're working, surrounding yourself with this show. I mean, how fun is it? Have you got any particular scenes that you found really fun to film, or difficult to film? Can you speak about those without spoiling anything?
I will say that the team of detectives, one of the other actors, Stacy Greenwell, who's plays Detective DeLackner, she just posted something funny on her Instagram this morning, and it was showing us the team of detectives. We had a lot of fun together because we'd all be sitting in our cast chairs, like waiting while they set up, and we're all work around the police station, and we had a lot of fun and a lot of silly laughs with that group. So I mean, that to me is the dream when you get those moments, especially when you're doing such a serious show with like a dark subject matter. But that actually brings me to a question I wanted to ask you was, for me, because I found it to be such an intelligent show, it did remind me a little bit of the British detective shows. Would you agree that, because I feel like some of the British detective shows are a little bit a little bit more complex than the
Yeah,
American ones.
I think ours are a slower pace. I think ours are not so full on. You know, ours are just like gentle, sort of. It makes your brain work. But this one, it's like it's
Oh,
had a few energy drinks and too many numbers. And it's
ah,
decided to, you know, mix them out with the kids, and it's all gone all over the place. But it's just so well put together, and the cast. I mean, actress Stacey just mentioned, she is such a firecracker on screen. She just seems to be really angry all the time, and just
you
having a
should.
go at the other detectives.
Yes, you should interview her too. She is hilarious,
I'll
and
try and
she
get her on.
also like, yeah, yeah, she's wonderful. Yeah,
And then,
her character just shines.
I mean, that's the key, though, isn't it? Is that I like shows where there's not one. Obviously, we've got a main lead, which is Alex Cross, but the true test of a show is when all the characters are as important as each other, and they've all got their own storylines, and they all make that scene up. And you know what I like about your character is that I can see the frustration in your face, having to deal with all of this, and you know the things you've got to deal with as well. I mean, straight off the bat, the fact that they're trying to cover it up to just be a PR stunt, I think is. I mean, it's scary to think if that actually does happen in the police force. I'm not saying it does, so I don't want to get any emails, but yeah, it's just scary if it may happen. But Hodge, the main star, what is he like? Is he nice? Has he got an ego?
No, he's wonderful, and he is so talented, and that's why I said I honestly I put him in the league with Kim Coates and Vincent D'Onofrio. He is going to be an actor to watch throughout our generation. He's really going to be something special. His work in this is incredible. At our premiere party where we got to watch the first two episodes, he got up and did a speech saying that he's so proud of this show and that it's the greatest work of his entire life. And I can see that when I watch it. I binge watched a couple episodes this morning. I obviously seen the first two at the premiere, but then I binge watched some this morning, and I was like, oh my god, he is so good. Like he's so good, especially like what his character has to go through. You know, his
Mm,
wife is murdered, all this complicated personal stuff. He's a father, and then meanwhile he's trying to stop this serial killer.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, and then talk about the serial killer. I mean, the fact that he's basing it on real life murderers, I think, is crazy because the photos you see are actually the photos of the real life killers. And I was
Yeah.
amazed that that was even allowed. I mean, I don't know who. Well, I suppose they're not here, are they? So they can't really. Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant as far as the writers, and when you touched on the fact that even the supporting cast, like all the
Mm,
detectives, we all have our own distinct personalities. That is a real testament to the strength of the writing team. They created these characters, and the way they've kind of even just written the way they speak or some of the mannerisms, it kind of informs the actor as to like where we want to take it, and then we can each make our characters so distinctive. Because sometimes with these cop murder mystery shows, the supporting cast, they deliver their lines. They are just doing exposition to move the story forward, but not with this show. All the characters have their distinct personalities.
And do you ever get any chance to say to the writers, because obviously you're living that character is you. If there's like a line that maybe you feel could be delivered differently or said differently with different words, I mean, are they quite, up for that, in changing it slightly?
Yes, they were on this show. The writers were there every day with us. They sat at the monitors and they watched every day. They were always part of it. And if once a script got emailed out, they had said that if you have any questions or concerns about the way your character is speaking or delivering something, reach out to them right away so that they can address it before the next drafts come out. And the creator of the show, Ben Watkins, he's such an inspiration also. If you watch some of his Instagram videos, you'll see that he started out his career in Hollywood 25 years ago, just started as an actor and struggling. And finally, here he is. All his dreams are coming true, where the show that he's written and created and the showrunner is now here, come to fruition. It's such an inspiring story. And he really, really handpicked his cast carefully. I actually for the first audition, we did them on tape. Nowadays, you don't go in
Mm.
person; you send the audition in on tape. And then for my callback audition, I thought I was going to have to, do it for the producers and director on screen, which is usually what your callback is nowadays. But instead, it was just Ben by himself, and he's like, "I don't need you to say any lines. I just want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then we ended up talking for an hour and a half. And he
Wow.
is so interesting and inspiring and intelligent. And I hung up from that Zoom call and I was like, oh my God, I hope I get this. That guy's so cool and so smart. So he really gets a feel for the person and whether or not they're the right fit for his character that he's created. And I'm so honored that I got to, fit into his vision.
And what's great, I suppose, it's a bit like Simon Barry, is that once you're in one of his shows, any future shows, he already knows you. He knows what you're capable of. So who knows? You could be in future shows for him. I mean, is there an episode that we should all
That's
look
my
out
hope.
for? Yes, yes. Put it on your board now. Put it on your board. A picture of
Oh,
Ben.
you're so smart. Thank you. I'm going to.
I mean, is there an episode that we should be looking out for? That's really going to rock our boat in this season.
Episode 6, I love. Yeah.
Oh,
Episode 6.
and then is
Yeah.
this just like a one season thing, or is there going to be another season? I mean, do you know if there's going to be announced another season, or have I
Yep.
just missed something because I've been so busy?
You missed something. It's already finished. Just finished shooting season 2. Yeah, it got
What?
green. It got green. I know. Isn't that amazing? It got greenlit for season 2. Already just finished shooting it because it got greenlit before season 1 even aired because Amazon Prime was so excited about it. The president of like Amazon Entertainment said that
Wow.
it's the most exciting show that they've ever done.
Because that's the thing that I get disappointed with, is when you enjoy a series so much, you get to the end and that's it. They don't renew it. And it leaves you often on a cliffhanger. So there's a show currently, Superman and Lois, that I really love, that I've spoken to the majority of the cast, and that was going to be cancelled after the last season, but the the showrunners decided to do one last season with a limited budget, but to round things off properly. Um, so yeah,
And
so
and do you feel as an audience member that you got closure?
well, I don't know. It hasn't finished yet, so there's three more
Oh, okay.
episodes. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, I would want more Bad Blood. I would want more Smallville. I would want a lot of things. But I know that it's all money, and I know it's show business, and that's what it's about, isn't it? It's business. But I cannot wait to watch the rest of this. Obviously, you've just wrapped season 2. What else are you working on? Are you just putting your legs up? And enjoying, the rest of the season on Amazon Prime.
Well, Normally, I'm arresting people on TV or, on Smallville, like fighting people, and I'm like always the tough lady. But on this recent project that I just shot in the summer, in the summertime, I did a Hallmark Christmas movie, my first one ever.
I love
I
him.
know.
I love him.
I'm usually so like intense with my roles that now here I am. I'm like a really happy, lovely, sweet role, and
Oh.
my mom and my grandma are so excited to watch.
And is that coming out this Christmas or next Christmas?
Yeah, next week.
And what's it called?
That one is called All the Lights of Christmas. At least that was the last working title that it was. It changed names a couple times, but like,
Do you know what? We
yeah.
have got the Hallmark channel in the UK, and honest
Oh,
to God, I can't believe I'm admitting this, but there is nothing better than sitting down, having a blanket across your legs, a nice hot chocolate, right, and watching a Hallmark movie because I'm a sucker for like emotional sort of feel good movies, and that's what Christmas is all about. That sort of feels. So I will keep a lookout for that, and I will mention it and give it a watch
yeah.
because everyone loves a Hallmark movie.
They do, and I honestly, when I read the script for the Hallmark one, I cried as I was reading it. I was like, "Oh, this is so heartfelt." I'm like, "I love this," and it in that heartfelt one, it jumps back and forth through time, so I get to be like my current age, and then they age me. So it's my very first time as an actor wearing prosthetics to age me into my 70s.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, it was
Was
really
that
cool. I'm gonna
scary
post a
though?
picture.
Yeah, was that scary though, thinking this is me in like 50 years or
I
whatever?
I felt like my mom is in her 70s and she still looks really good for her age, so it wasn't a very good comparison, but my grandmother, I did think I looked a bit like my grandmother, and I was like, "Oh, wow." I'm like,
This
"I'm a
is
very handsome elderly woman."
this is my future. But no,
Yeah.
you know what, Sharon, thank you so much for the chat. It's been an absolute blast, and I look forward to that movie and the rest of Cross. It's been an absolute honor. Look after yourself. Keep safe.
Thanks, Brian. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.